What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan, and this is the Thunder Channel on Nootropics. Thanks so much for being with me. We're going to talk about anxiety today, and a lot about anxiety, sort of how it comes on, full-blown anxiety disorders, what panic attacks actually feel like, and what you can do about it, nootropics-wise and otherwise. In the meantime, what supports this broadcast are a couple epic nootropic products. Look, go to livecortex.com and get some nootropic products. Flagship product is the Cortex stack. Like, I built this thing being an entrepreneur, running a company 18 hours a day. So if you want a stack that puts your brain in a place where you're able to do that, get the Cortex stack. It will make you a workhorse. It is a very, very strong motivation, verbal fluency, mental energy, drive to work type of nootropic stack. You can either get it singularly or do auto ship. Most nootropic companies have an auto ship option. Some of them actually make you do auto ship. And then if you love the stack, you continue auto ship. If you don't, you just you bought the stack for a month or whatever. We've got both options, so do that at livecortex.com. If you're new to Nootropics Ground Zero is where you absolutely have to start. There was no course like this out there when I started, and I wish there was. So I made it for people that are new. Teaches you how to use nootropics, makes you a pro. It'll actually take you into the 3-year range of using nootropics. Gives you a lot of stacks, much more in that video course. If you're a guy that has to raise testosterone, what the VTP really is a tailored consult where I develop for you a tailored regimen, a protocol on raising free and total test. It is the same across the board as it relates to certain chemicals, and it may be different depending on people's blood work for different people, for other people. Folks may need to work on sex hormone binding globulin, estrogen, etc., and not necessarily lowering it, contrary to what people think. The VTP is very tailored. And the outcome is raising free and total tests. We'll get tangible results on the blood work with the VTP. Last couple things. If you are a middle-aged business person or a young business person, male, that is either in corporate or an entrepreneur, and you perform fine now, but you want to be extremely high performance as it relates to productivity, brain function, verbal fluency, whatever it is that you need to do, that is what I do. Work with me for either 3.5 months or 6 months. I've worked with some of the top executives on the planet. I've worked with heavy-hitting business people. I've worked with people with energy and brain performance problems as well that just needed to get out of them, fix them, resolve them, and then function optimally on top of that. Either 3.5 months or 6 months. Do those consults at livecortex.com. Okay, so let's break this down. First of all, I would say that because there seem to be a good bit of people outside of the medical establishment that don't fully understand anxiety, like just people that you might know, your friends or whatever, hopefully not your significant other, that think that when you get it, that you can just take a couple breaths and it'll go away, that you can just calm down, that you're sort of making something out of nothing type of thing. There are people that actually think that, and that is because they don't experience it. So I'm sorry for that. If you're one of those people that is dealing with someone who discounts your anxiety, it's very strange. What I have come to learn in previously inducing panic attacks through nootropic experiments gone wrong. I mean, there was this one time where I'd eaten a good bit of cannabis and then taken too much tyrosine and literally induced a full-blown bodily shaking panic attack. It was just a mistake, a mistake I would never make again. And there have also been times in my life, for one reason or another, that I've actually had panic attacks for a considerable period of time, month, 2 months, 3 months, and it's terrible. For those of you that don't know, and those of you that do, right, this will resonate with you. When you get a panic attack that is driven from anxiety and the full fight or flight comes on, there's no controlling it, right? There's no being like, oh, let me turn on a meditation or something, and I'll just be fine in like a couple minutes or so. The adrenaline response, because that's really what we're talking about, massive release of epinephrine, has to run its course. Okay, it's got to run its full course. Now, that isn't to say that you can't stop it, and we'll get to that, but it sort of has to run a good bit of its course because the process has started. Now you've got to just sit through it. Having a panic attack is one of the worst feelings ever. It's like it may be right there alongside like really bad teeth pain. It's scary. Even though you have had them before and you know what they feel like, so you know that it's just the fight or flight epinephrine surging response, you still feel like you're going to die each time it happens. Your breathing can become extremely shallow for many reasons. You could be aspirating reflux because your digestion gets really fucked up most of the time when you're having a panic attack into your lungs, and it could actually make your breathing bad because of an actual physiological mechanism, or just the blood in your body is getting shunted to critical organs, and it's also getting shunted to like your thighs and your arms, because your body, like this, a lot of people say this, but it's actually true. Your body really does think like you're going to have to go fight a tiger or something. This is the built-in innate response that we have from way back then, when we needed to be strong in dangerous situations. Yeah, panic attacks really, really suck. They can come on very suddenly without warning. And then every single element of the panic attack itself makes it worse, right? So it's difficult for you to breathe. That makes it worse, right? You're feeling cramps in your stomach. That makes it worse. You might even have chest pain, and that could be skeletal. That could have to do with your lungs. It could, in fact, be reflux. It could be many things. And then that makes the panic attack worse. It's really terrible. So that's actual full-blown panic attacks. General anxiety is, I wouldn't say a different thing, but if it doesn't lead to a full-blown panic attack, it is somewhat different, but still probably just as sucky, I would say. It's just as sucky. Excuse me. And whatever your reasoning is, whether it's social events, or it is your own home life. A lot of people that end up with anxiety are dealing with addicted spouses, alcoholics, people that are addicted to, name your drug. That situation is an extremely anxious place to be. You're sort of always on edge. There's so much that goes into that, right? So many reasons can trigger this general anxiety where, your brain is worst case scenarioing most things. And even though, like, looking at things as they are, and things are really bad, and your brain is like, what the fuck am I going to, what the fuck am I going to do? Kind of thing. It's bad. Social anxiety, bad, right? You start thinking things. I've never really dealt with social anxiety, but have dealt with people that have social anxiety about social situations that are not true. You just maybe that's the important part in some of these cases, like realizing what's true and what actually isn't true. What is provoking you, if you're listening, to take action, and what is really just a physiological response. What is irrational, etc. Social anxiety has a lot to do with your confidence about who you are and what you know. Who you are and what you know. Right? In this world, currency in a social setting is intellect in a major sense, and it is your social capacity. How good are you with people, right? How good can you make people feel in the moment? How good can you socialize comfortably, etc. And if you haven't developed those skills, anxiety can come from it. Let's talk about what you can do. So, shifting back to the panic attack side of things, full-blown panic attacks, again, are very difficult to get under control because it's a set of physiological things that happen that you can't just talk yourself out of, at least not right away. It takes time. One of the things that have helped me in bouts with actual panic attacks that I've had at certain periods for a certain duration that I then resolved was a lot of things. First of all, when it's happening, you have to know that that's what's happening. And rather than give in to the idea that you're dying, because that's what it feels like, You just have to know that that's happening. So that in and of itself allows you to either not let it progress substantially or calm down a little bit. The other thing is part of why your breathing is pretty terrible when you're having an anxiety attack in general, whether full-blown panic attack or anxiety that's leading up to it, is that you're not breathing out. You're not exhaling enough. So it's important in those states to breathe in, but to breathe out. Like to really, really breathe out. And then try in that process to slow that process. Do not try breathing quickly. Even though it may feel like you're not getting enough air. Just try to breathe slower and exhale. You gotta exhale. Affirmations to yourself work pretty well a good degree of the time. It helps if you have a guided meditation on YouTube or something with and the sex actually matters, like with whatever sex makes you feel comfortable. For me, it's a woman, right? If I have anxiety, I would want to listen to a guided meditation with a woman, so my brain registers, okay, this woman cares about me, and that gives me a degree of comfort in those situations. A lot of what anxiety and panic attack meditations do is sort of talk you through what you're experiencing. They might even say things like, I know that now you're experiencing numbness and tingling sensations in your body, and that is scaring you. You might have chest pain, and you might think that you're having a heart attack, and that is scaring you. And then they literally go, none of that. You're not having a heart attack. Although these sensations may be happening, you will be okay. This has to run its course, and this is just a physiological response, an excessive release of epinephrine, and it will pass because the body can't stay in that state forever. That's the other great thing about having an anxiety attack. There's nothing great about it, but knowing your body cannot stay in that state forever. It will pass. It is guaranteed to pass. And I know it's difficult to think about that when it's happening, but it will. So guided meditations are really helpful for that and calming yourself down. And what I have also come to learn is that if you're in a period of your life where you're going through that for whatever reasons, there are proactive things that you can and should be doing. Even when you're not feeling anxious, so to make sure that you don't get to that point. One of them would be meditating in the morning or listening to a guided meditation in the morning, starting your day that way. If you have a proclivity or inclination to have anxiety, it is definitely good to do some sort of guided meditation in the morning and do breathing, again, breathing out, and you get to learn over time how to calm your body down and your brain down substantially. And that lingers throughout the rest of the day, just kind of like meditation does if you're doing it right. So that's one thing throughout the day, continuing to do that. Recognize when your thinking is getting excessive about something that is making you anxious and try to just nip it in the bud as it's happening. On the nootropic side, okay, there are so many chemicals that are extremely useful in this situation, both as a maintenance and then as a strategy to do while it's happening. Flush niacin, okay? Flush niacin is an incredibly useful compound in ultimately calming you down. Hardcore flush niacin is one of the chemicals that I would use or have used in people that are coming off of benzos, Xanax particularly, but still have really, really bad panic disorders and anxiety disorders that are affecting them physiologically at a myriad of levels. I have used all of the sort of, I want to call them run-of-the-mill, like the typical compounds that we talk about, and one can use a lot of the typical compounds that we talk about in these situations. Theanine, the reason theanine is sort of like a super nootropic is because it is attempting to balance both GABA and serotonin. It actually does work on brain concentrations of GABA. It's dose dependent, and it's also, it's not only dose dependent, but the quantity that you take definitely does matter. In a situation where you feel anxiety coming on, I would start with 200 milligrams of L-theanine, but you could move yourself all the way up to 1,000 milligrams, 1,500 milligrams, 2 grams even. You know, there have been times in my life where that was very useful. Thank you, police officer out there. Appreciate that. That was really useful. And I would take like 1 gram at a time or 2 grams at a time. This was many, many years ago. And theanine alone really, really helped. In this case, you want to reduce glutamate and you want to increase extracellular GABA concentrations. That's one of the primary things that you want to do. And there are many ways to do that. One of them is using a chemical called lemon balm, Melissa. And lemon balm is a GABA transaminase inhibitor, GABA T. And GABA T breaks GABA down. So it just allows you to accumulate more synaptic GABA, and that is very useful in that situation. Probably one of the most useful chemicals in controlling anxiety and taking while you're having a panic attack or you feel anxiety coming on is a compound called picamilin, which will give you a large degree of biologically available, neurologically available GABA, unlike a regular GABA supplement, which has the ability to affect the brain, but it's not very good at crossing the blood-brain barrier. Picamilin is, because it is it's either B1 or B3, chemically bonded to GABA in a way that allows the GABA itself to cross the blood-brain barrier and affect neuronal function, affect neuronal GABA function almost instantly. That stuff is pure magic for anxiety. It is a very powerful compound. It's not very readily or widely available, unfortunately, but you can get it. Last I checked, I don't know if Nootropic Source had it. I believe I had to get it from a vendor in China the last time that I was looking at picamilin. And there are some other, websites that had picamilin some time ago. But I typically tend to buy a lot of a certain nootropic if I think I'm going to need it at any period in the future. So I just sort of ended up with a lot of it. I also think that NAC, N-acetylcysteine, has shown some pretty interesting benefits in reducing anxiety. What I would wager on the mechanism is it really has nothing to do with GABA. It may lower glutamate to an extent or control it or regulate it, but I know that it is fostering proper dopamine signaling. And to an extent, a reduction or a lack of dopamine signaling can cause anxiety. I've had many clients that are hyper ADHD and are just unable to focus, and focusing on the dopamine side, and it gave them anxiety. They had terrible anxiety, but focusing strictly on the dopamine side as to repair the ADHD actually helped their anxiety. That's pretty much it with the chemicals. I mean, I'd really sort of stop there. Breathing is so important. Learning to exhale, right? Guided meditations, incredibly important. Exercise. In the event that you start feeling like you're having a panic attack or you're having anxiety, if you could just lift some weights, that will do you the biggest justice possible. It will help you substantially in that situation and start to make you feel better. It will sort of like, if you're in the middle of it and you start to lift weights or do some exercise, that's enough. I'm petting my cat. He's over here. Hey, buddy. I love you, buddy. Then it has the capacity to stop it. It will foster the ending of that physiologic epinephrine response quicker. It'll make it end sooner, and that is something you definitely want in that situation. And all the rest of the things that I said. Guided meditations are huge. The sex is important. If a male comforts you, awesome. If a woman comforts you, awesome. Affirmations, telling yourself good things about yourself is important. But also being a good person is important. Loving things, love helps you get out of anxiety, right? If you have an animal or a significant other, loving them And them loving you is a great way to get out of a panic attack. I've been in situations where I've both had supportive people in those situations, and then also people that didn't want anything to do with it, right, because of their own, psychological disturbed place that they're in. And that's terrible when someone does not want to help you, and doesn't want to love you. But if you have a supportive, loving, good person that is near you, just having them comfort you, physically touching you is extremely helpful in just letting that temporary state pass. Okay, so I hope I've been useful and helpful in this. I deal with a lot of people that are coming off of benzos, and it sort of runs the gamut. Like they're trying to perform better because benzos are certainly taking away from their motivation and their capacity to think. But if that is ever to get permanently better, like they have to stop taking the benzos eventually. Fasoracetam. I forgot fasoracetam. Incredibly useful, incredibly powerfully useful compound for anxiety, for whatever reason you have anxiety for. GABA B regulation and generally calming the nervous system and setting up GABA glutamate to be a little more balanced. Fasoracetam is hugely useful. I guess that's it. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. This has been a cool, fun thing to talk about because I am interested in this and I like to help people that are in this situation, and I've been in this situation myself, so it's really close to home. Those of you that have dealt with anxiety, I know that it is terrible. I guess I forgot CBD. A lot of people respond really well to CBD in those situations. Some people don't. Some people it actually makes them worse. Some people THC. Some people THC makes them worse. But I'll say, those of you that do have it, yeah, and if you're not executing some of those strategies, try to. And remember, whenever it happens, that it will get better. It's a response that has to end. Your body cannot stay in that state forever. I truly, truly feel for you if you have anxiety and have especially panic attacks. Let God be with you. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Look, go support the broadcast at livecortex.com. Cortex Stack right now. Yeah, I mean, it ships to 40 countries. We literally ship to 40 countries. So all around the world, people take this Nootropic Stack to turn on mental energy, general brain performance, motivation to do stuff, and verbal fluency. Look, it's powerful. If you want to get it for cheaper, do the auto ship option. That gives you the option to, I mean, if you just want to try the stack out, do auto ship, set up for auto ship. You get it cheaper. It'll be shipped to you. And then if you don't like it, just cancel it. But chances are you're going to love Cortex and want it in the mix. It's just a very, very powerful stack. Nootropics Ground Zero for people that are new. If you're brand new to Nootropics, you got to get that course. It teaches you a lot. It's a course that I wish I had when I started because I wasted 3.5 years, basically. I don't say wasted, but I had inconsistent results and side effects and wasn't cycling properly. I just didn't know some of these core things. Strategically using nootropics is really what you'll learn in Nootropics Ground Zero. VTP, if you're a guy that has to raise test, tailored protocols for tangibly on the lab work, raising test, free and total test. And then lastly, again, if you're a business person, young, middle-aged, later, business male, corporate or entrepreneur that wants to perform extremely well and have a roster of effective nootropic combinations and an ERS, an effective rotation schedule, which is a critical part, by the way, of developing stacks for yourself. Having an ERS is like, if you don't have an ERS, your stack formulation strategy will not work. We will set you up with that and more and make your brain function the way that you want it to be and the way that it needs to function for you to be extremely productive. 3.5 months or 6 months, work with me, livecortex.com. Email me, Ryan at livecortex.com if you have questions. Thank you so much for being with me. I love you guys. You guys have made this channel. Your questions are awesome. I love getting in the comments and responding. Keep asking them. Live streams to come, a lot more to come, more products to come. We'll talk to you next time.